Hello and welcome. Again, my name is Tim Moody. I am the Public Information Officer with the Randolph County School System. We welcome this opportunity every month to get out in front of our community as part of RTV's From the Desk Of. And I'm here with our superintendent, Dr. Stephen Gainey. And Dr. Gainey, we still have some time left in our school year, but it's certainly not too early to begin thinking about next school year. And of course, a big part of that is the budget. And our most recent board meeting, we presented a budget to the board members. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we did, Tim. We presented our budget last week at the board meeting at the work session, and wanted the board to see what our ideas were for the budget, and then they'll take the next month and ask whatever questions they need to ask us as they read through the document. It's out there. It's been posted publicly in the board materials that were posted prior to that meeting in March, or March 16th meeting it was. But the budget, big thing with that is always being transparent. We need to be transparent with our board. We need to be transparent with our elected officials. We've already met with the legislators from this area, our elected officials, our county commissioners, and so they know what our concerns are with the state budget. They know what our needs are for the local budget. So just an opportunity last week with our own board to be very transparent to the public, and just looking forward to working through that process. We'll bring it back at the April 20th board meeting for an official vote, and then we'll turn it over to the county commissioners.
Okay. You know, when talking about a budget, it seems like one of the budgetary items that always comes into play is technology. And we hear the term 21st century learning, and of course, learning in the classroom is much different today than it was for you and I when we were coming up. So when you think about the impact of technology in the classroom, what excites you about that? And then on the flip side, what are some things that perhaps concern you about the use of technology?
Well, I think when you start looking at technology, probably the biggest issue, Tim, is the greater access to information that kids have now that we didn't have, and the skills the skill set they have in relation to technology. When you're talking about 21st century learning, that involves skill sets that we didn't have, or we weren't exposed to as students. So I'm just excited to see where our kids get to experience this technology and prepare for their futures with technology playing such a big role. And I think we have to put them in a position for successful futures with the technology. Right. Now, a concern I have is technology doesn't stand still. So you can buy the technology now, and it's gonna phase out and be replaced by something down the road. So it is a continuous cycle as far as budgets go, and we have to be prepared for that, for what we call computer refresh or computer upgrades, technology refresh or technology upgrades. So that's a concern. There's always going to be, I believe there will always be the budgetary concern about being able to keep up with technology and the changes, the online testing that's out there coming from the state level. Do we have the technology in-house to make sure we can administer those tests online appropriately? So those are concerns, but probably the bigger driver is making sure we have the appropriate budget to support that moving down the road.
Okay. Getting back to our most recent board meeting for just a moment, one of the initiatives that you and I have talked about in previous interviews is something that we circled back to at the most recent board meeting, and that was Goal 2019, and something, again, we've talked about, but it is somewhat official now. Can you refresh our memory on what that initiative is all about?
Yes, Goal 2019, it says that by the end of the 2018-2019 school year, at least 75% of our students will be at or above level 3 on end of course and end of grade tests. And all subgroups of students will be performing at the expected growth level by that time. Now, what's key with that goal, I felt very strongly that this system needed some sort of, I don't know if you call it, I think of it as a lighthouse. Somewhere the entire school system can be pointing towards in all that we do. It can be like an umbrella that everything can fit up under. And that goal is unique to me when I look at it, because I can take any kid in the school system and apply that goal to him or her. It's not about You know, are we looking at the elementary kids or the high school kids or the middle school kids? Are we looking at boys or girls or what? Every kid fits in that goal. And I think that's what can be very powerful. And another key to it, Tim, is it says at least 75%. You know, I hope by 2018, 2019, we've driven past 75% and we're headed on to higher ground. But excited to see how this plays out. There'll be more information coming out to staff in the coming weeks. But that was a good day for us, and the board we've talked about that goal on multiple occasions with the board, and I just appreciated their support of it as we continue to move forward with reaching for higher levels of performance for this school system and continuous improvement.
Dr. Gainey, at the most recent board meeting, we also had some discussion about grade point scale, and I would suspect we have a lot of folks in our community that really don't know what the grade point scale is, and that's to be impacted anyway. So can you update us on that?
Well, Tim, back in the fall, the State Board of Education approved a 10-point grade scale for next year's freshmen. And at first, they approved it to apply only to next year's freshmen, and the rest of the high school students would stay on the 7-point scale. There was some concern expressed by superintendents around the state, because at the high school level, you have classes that have different grade levels of students, especially like elective classes. And so we were concerned that you may have a child in a class and one child gets a 91, and that's an A on the 10-point scale, and another child, another grade level, gets a 91, it's a B. And that was a big concern that I had, is the position teachers were going to be put in and the difficulty in maintaining consistency. So the state board revisited that after the holiday break, and they went back and they said they ruled that the 10-point scale we put in next year at the high school level for all students. So I thought that was good, very good. And what we brought the conversation to our board back last week in the work session, our board has not voted on this yet, but we brought the conversation up that if 9 through 12, those grades are going to be the 10-point scale, wouldn't it be logical to put grades 3 through 8 on the 10-point scale as well? And we had a discussion and had good feedback from the board. Don't know where that will go, but we just thought that might be a logical next step to try to get some consistency across the school system. So we'll see where it goes. I like that feel of, you know, it's hard to send students from one level of school to another, and really it wouldn't be, you know, if they stayed on a 7-point scale, elementary to middle, they'd be the same scale. But it is difficult when you start sending them from one level of school, like from middle to high, and they're experiencing different grade scales. Now, you know, somebody could question, well, 10-point scale, are you reducing your standards? No, we're not reducing our standards. We still have a big eye on the evaluations that come from the state level and you know, the accountability system from the state level. And so we're not reducing our standards. We're just trying to create some consistency on how we're dealing with students and the accountability internally.
Another topic that we've talked about in some previous interviews is student reassignment, which impacts a number of families in the Randolph County School System. But we've also had some updates on that. So could you share those with us?
Yes, Tim, we put in a process for student reassignments back in January 2014. And I've always believed, even when I was a principal, if you put information out there, parents will help you. The problem you run into is when you don't have the information out there for the parents and the public to see, like deadlines and when you need to apply for this or that. So those reassignment guidelines have been posted on our website since January 2014. We have continued to look at them to see if there was some wording need to be changed so it's more clear to individuals who are reading the document on the web page. And the whole thing with reassignment, in my mind, is we need to make sure we have a firm understanding of how many students are going to a particular school from one year to the next, because with students comes resources. And you don't need, late in the summer, say 10 kids all of a sudden coming away from a school and the resources are sitting at the school they're coming away from, and then we're scrambling to get the resources reallocated to where they're going. So just been working hard to be transparent with the parents and the public on this, And so feel good about the direction we're going because we have some procedures in place and staff's working hard to follow those procedures and apply them to different scenarios.
Some announcements, some personnel announcements came out of the most recent board meeting as well regarding some interim principals. Can you update us on that?
Yes, that was another exciting moment of our board meeting last week. And Tim, you've been around me long enough to know that you've heard me say it many times. The principal position is very near and dear to me. I think a lot of stuff at a school starts with the principal, and getting the right person in those seats is very important. And we did name 3 principals. They were already at their schools as interim principals. Michelle Maxfield was the interim principal at Grace Chapel Elementary. She had been there since the last week before the winter break in December. She had started as interim principal then. Prior to that, she had been assistant principal there and assistant principal at Liberty Elementary. Michelle Ford has been the interim principal at Southeast Randolph Middle School since the beginning of January, and she was made the permanent principal at Southeast Randolph Middle School. And then Larry Chappell has been interim principal at Trinity High School since the beginning of January, and he was named as permanent principal. So very excited about all 3 leaders, and looking forward to better days ahead. And seeing where they take these schools in their new roles. I'm just excited, and we're continuing to work in our school system to work on effective school leadership at all 31 of our schools.
Okay. You know, Dr. Gainey, I would suspect as, you know, the leader of this school system that as you go through a school year, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that your mindset probably shifts a little bit. At the beginning of the school year, you're sort of thinking of certain things, and then they transition as you go through the middle part of the year. We're coming down the home stretch now. Graduations are coming up. What's on your mind as a school year comes to a close?
Well, one thing that's on my mind that has not, I don't know that it's ever crossed my mind as much as it has the last couple of weeks. I am concerned about our staff. We missed those 2 weeks in February, and our board did a great job of working through the calendar issues. I mean, no one plans for 2 weeks like that. I mean, that was just a tough time. Our board did a great job there. And I must tell you, I'm concerned because when you take 2 weeks out of the mix and you have the different events that are canceled, they're rescheduled somewhere. So I do believe our staff in the last couple of weeks has had a lot going on with the catch up with the after school events and stuff of that nature. So I'm concerned about staff and looking forward to them having some break at spring break. They have 2 days at spring, actually 3 days at spring break, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, and of course the weekend in between there. I'm looking forward to them having a chance to kind of step back, because even the time they missed with the weather, that's a different kind of missed time. That's not a time of some relaxation. And I just appreciate the board working hard to find a way to maintain some of that for our staff, because I do believe that these last couple weeks have been hard on them as doing a lot of catch-up stuff. But, you know, high school graduation's around the corner. Springtime, I love getting out of winter. I don't really like the winter season. I like warm weather. Looking forward to seeing how our kids perform at the end of the year. And we think we're making some big strides in our instruction throughout the system at all levels of school. So just kind of looking forward to seeing how this all plays out at the end. And obviously at the end of the year, you have a lot of students, especially at the high school level, that start receiving recognitions, and that's always exciting as well. And staff recognitions from Teacher of the Year events to Employee Excellence events. So, just an exciting couple months from recognitions to finishing the school year strong.
Okay. Now, you talked about the impact of the calendar, and of course our weather wreaked havoc on our calendar this year. When you have a year like this one, what does that do to the thought process when planning future calendars, or does it?
Well, you can do all the planning you want to do, and then you go 3 winters and have no disruptions. So then, I just think that it kind of goes back to you do what you can on the calendar, and then there's still going to be some individual attention to things that occur. Last year our winter was so different. It seemed like we would go a couple days and it'd be disrupted, it seemed like a constant start and stop. And honestly, I forgot that till a teacher reminded me. This time, we had 2 weeks in a row, and it was almost unbelievable that we almost missed 2 complete weeks of school. It seemed like that because even the couple days we went during those 2 weeks were so unusual because we had weather on both sides of them, and the forecasts were saying weather was coming back. I just don't know, Tim, that you can ever really make it so perfect. I think, and I go back to our board. Our board worked through this both winters, and I thought did a very good job of dealing with what was the situation that was handed to them, which was, I looked at the data, and based on what I saw last winter, prior to the winter of 2014, this school system had only missed 10 days combined over the previous 10 school years.
Wow.
So 10 school days had been canceled the previous 10. So these last 2 winters have been unusual. And so I just have to say to the board, thank you for, they've kept in mind everybody that was involved and worked hard to try to be sensitive to everybody. And here we are at spring break, and as superintendent, I'm realizing, wow, I think our employees need the break that's there. So it's important that we do, I think there's thank yous around that go to around a lot of people around the weather, and the board deserves a big one as well.
Well, speaking of thank yous, thank you, Dr. Gainey, and again, thank you to Randolph Telephone for giving us this opportunity. Each month, there are so many things that we could share with you, with the community, and we just appreciate these few minutes that we're able to take some of the highlights and cover those with you. And we will see you again soon. Thank you.